Greetings. We are looking at a skills lesson plan for a study skills strategy. If you're part of my class, this is one of the benchmark assignments that you will do. But know that teaching is not an algorithm. An algorithm is like a math formula that you follow step by step. You must understand the principles. This is an example of high load transfer. You understand the principles here so you can transfer them to a real life teaching situation. And again, an algorithm is a step-by-step formula that leads you to a specific answer. Well-structured problems have this. A heuristic is a general set of principles or steps that will lead you to an answer. These are used for ill-structured problems like in real life. All the information is not going to be there. In your classrooms, very rarely will you have well-structured problems, a now do this situation. Very, very rarely. And I know your students and teachers are looking for specific answers. What do I do when this happens? Very rarely will you have an algorithmic answer. They're heuristic types of answers. So I want you to understand the basic parts of a skills lesson plan. The purpose statement, input, guided practice, and independent practice or activity. Now, I do not use behavioral objectives. I do not believe in them because learning is a cognitive endeavor. It happens up here. You cannot see it. Behavioral objectives tend to become too assessment-oriented. All right, we need to assess. No, we don't need to assess every lesson or learning experience. Assessment happens like collecting soil samples. You do it little bits at a time. We do not expect mastery in a single encounter. And in my experience, real teachers, not the fake ones, think in terms of cognitive objectives or purpose statements. What do I want students to do? I want students to learn how to do long division. That is my purpose for this lesson. All right. Now, purpose statement is what you want students to learn or learn about. It is one sentence. Everything that follows should support that sentence. If not, don't include it in your lesson. Now, here's some examples. You can stop the video and look at these. Students will learn how to use morphemic analysis. Other examples for a study skill strategy. And if you're in my class, these are one of the skills you will be teaching. Students will learn how to use. That's my purpose. Or if it's a cognitive process, students will learn how to predict, compare and contrast, identify. These are all cognitive processes. This is what I want students to learn or be able to do. Cognitive processes related to comprehension. Learn how to use. These are all graphic organizers, by the way. Any one of these will be fine. Any one of these will be fine. But before you begin planning, make sure you understand the skill, how it might be used. In this lesson, these are all cognitive processes related to comprehension. Understand from the reading or other video lectures exactly what these study skill strategies are, how to use them, what are the steps. You'll need to do some think-orating here. At the end of the lesson, students should be able to perform the cognitive process. All right, we teach the process to develop the skill. Use the graphic organizers for input, guided practice, and independent practice. And I'll show you what these look like. At the end of the lesson, your students should be able to use one of these, independently. And these are all presented in the book or other places. For the input, you want to use list or outline form. Use abbreviated sentences. Now, outline form is different than an outline. A student, you should be able to hand it to another student or a teacher, and they should be able to teach from it. If it's a single word outline, you can't do that. So outline form is different from an outline. This list or outline form allows you to see the structure and the sequence so you can move things around. I'm going to say this again. List or outline form is different from a list or an outline. It needs to be substantial enough so I can see exactly what you are saying and teaching. Now, I recommend you turn off the stinking automatic outline function because that totally messes up the spacing and the margins and everything. I absolutely hate that automatic outline function. Include everything students need to know to achieve your purpose. If you're going to have questions in your lesson plan, include the questions. I use a Q with a full colon so you can see that is a question. Good discussions, by the way, do not happen spontaneously. They must be planned. Use kid language, not dictionary language. Consider the level of the students you are working with which you are working. You'll need to explain and model, demonstrate, think out loud using cognitive modeling. Boys and girls, as I'm reading this is what I'm thinking. Include a visual of some kind with a PowerPoint, Smartboard, or Prezi. This creates a multimodal presentation. Now, in the lesson plan, let the reader know if it's on a PowerPoint, board, poster, etc. You can't simply say, show the students this. We need to know how you're going to show them. If you're using a PowerPoint, it's a very simple thing to cut and paste a PowerPoint slide directly into a Word document so you can see exactly what you are doing. Now, some students, it's usually easier if you plan the lesson first and then create the PowerPoint. It's very difficult to create a PowerPoint and then do the lesson. All right. An example of support a statement. You need to identify exactly what you want students to be able to do. Support a statement. They need to find ideas to support an idea or declarative statement. Here's an example. Dorothy was brave. We need to find examples that show that Dorothy was brave. All right. Or Dorothy was evil. Here are some examples in the movie that shows that Dorothy was evil. That's supporting a statement. What are the steps? You need to decide what the steps are. These steps vary according to the age and the skill. Now, it's not that important that they eventually do my steps exactly. It's the cognitive process that's important. We teach the process to develop the skill so that they do these things automatically as they read or after they read. So we teach the process to develop the skill so they do it automatically. Use the graphic organizers for teaching the input, for guided practice, and for the independent practice. Now think about the end state. At the end of the lesson, I want students to be able to see a sentence and add 2 or 3 supporting details. That's what I want. That's where I want. And again, I don't use behavioral objectives because they become too assessment-oriented. Assessment is not the goal when teaching a skill. Not. Assessment should never get in the way of teaching and learning. And I always hear, how do you know if learning has occurred? I hear that whine. We assess another day and another time. The goal is to teach and practice. And you are watching students during guided practice, but mastery never ever occurs with one encounter. Mastery occurs over time through repeated exposure and practice. That's why I don't use behavioral objectives. Now, this study skill strategy, you could do it as a pre-during reading strategy or a post-reading strategy. You decide, but let us know. As a pre-during, I would look for ideas, I would introduce it, and students would look for ideas that support the statement as you're reading. As a post-reading, you teach and they look back. It does not matter which one, but you decide. Again, the goal is to develop and automatize the cognitive process. We teach the process to develop the skill, enable students to do this automatically as you are reading. Now, guided practice It's structured with a gradual release of responsibility. Think of an upside triangle with more of you and less of you as you move them through. It's like a benchmark on an IEP. You have baby steps towards that goal. This is a visual. More teacher during guided practice and less teacher and more student. Gradual release of responsibility so that they can do it. You want to, if you're teaching a study skill strategy, find a short story or paragraph to use for your input to demonstrate and model, and for your guided practice. And in the lesson plan, you need to identify and include the specific story or paragraph. We need to know exactly what you're using here. You can create and find your own, but I have given you some to use as well. Now, here's an example of structure. And I'm teaching this as a pre-during reading. I'm including the statement, Billy Marble is smart. In this section, there are two ideas that support this or make it true. Let's see if we can find it. And then they can select ideas from the word bank to find the two that make it so. So they're reading just a short selection. I've identified this and included it, and they need to find two of these. That provides a lot of structure. Gradual release. All right, in this next section, see if you can find one idea from the word box that shows that this is true. So I'm including one idea and they have to find another. See if you can find the other. Let's structure 3. Read silently. Find the clues that tell us that the bus was not safe. Check with your partner. See the gradual release of responsibility here? Structure 4. Read silently. Find the clues. And they read the next section, they write it down, and I'm walking around to check to make sure that they're getting it. See how I am assessing? I'm not assessing, I'm just being a good kid watcher. I'm evaluating to see if students have got it. Okay? Guided practice provides scaffolding as students are learning and enables all students to practice the skill and keeps them cognitively engaged. You take them through the skill together. This gradual release of responsibility, more teacher, less student, to more student and less teacher. And as I said, it's a type of formative assessment. As learning is forming, I'm walking around, I'm observing kids, I'm a kid watcher to see if they are getting it. And again, more teacher, less student, to more student, less teacher. And then independent practice. It's to reinforce, extend, or practice, or apply what they have learned. It's practice, practice, practice. The purpose is not to assess. I will assess another day or evaluate or whatever you want to call it. All right? It's practice what they have already learned. If you're doing your job, it should be 95 to 100% success ratio. All students should be able to do it. Often, independent practice looks very much like guided practice. Got it? If they're practicing with you, then they should be able to practice something similar by themselves. Students can also practice by applying it in an authentic activity. All right, read chapter 4, use this study skill strategy. Here would be an example of independent practice, and I'm breaking the reading into sections so students can do this independently. You might even have them do this with a partner. Just some examples of this complex skills lesson plan that you will be planning and teaching.